The full story of the United States and Iran conflict, 70 years of tension. Welcome to this in-depth report. In a world full of conflict and shifting alliances, few rivalries have lasted as long or run as deep as the conflict between the United States and Iran. This isn't just about nuclear weapons or recent airstrikes. It's about decades of mistrust, interference, broken promises, and power struggles, going all the way back to the 1950s. In the next few minutes, we'll walk through this conflict, from the CIA-led coup of 1953, through the Islamic Revolution, hostage crises, secret arms deals, nuclear tensions, and the explosive developments of 2025. 1. The beginning, 1953 coup. Our story begins in 1953. Iran had a democratic leader, Prime Minister Mohammad Mossadegh, who made a bold move. He nationalized Iran's oil industry, taking control away from British and American companies. That didn't sit well with the West. So the United States and Britain launched Operation Ajax, a secret CIA operation that overthrew Mossadegh and reinstalled Shah Mohammad Reza Pahlavi, a monarch more friendly to Western interests. The Shah ruled with strong U.S. backing, but also with increasing repression. This single event planted deep anti-American feelings that would shape Iran's future for generations. 2. The Islamic Revolution and hostage crisis. Fast forward to 1979. After years of unrest, protests, and growing anger toward the Shah, a massive revolution swept through Iran. Leading the revolution was Ayatollah Khomeini, a powerful cleric in exile who opposed Western influence and wanted Iran governed by Islamic law. The Shah fled the country. Khomeini returned and established the Islamic Republic of Iran, a theocracy that quickly turned hostile toward the U.S. Then came a defining moment. Iranian students stormed the U.S. Embassy in Tehran, taking 52 American diplomats hostage. The hostages were held for 444 days. The U.S. broke off diplomatic ties. Iran became public enemy number one in American foreign policy. This marked the true beginning of a long and bitter rivalry. 3. The 1980s. War, mistakes, and mistrust. During the 1980s, Iran was at war with its neighbor Iraq. The U.S., seeing Iran as a growing threat, supported Saddam Hussein's Iraq, providing intelligence, weapons, and political support. But the 1980s were also filled with contradictions. In the Iran-Contra affair, the U.S. secretly sold weapons to Iran, yes, Iran, and used the money to fund anti-communist rebels in Nicaragua. This was despite officially branding Iran as a state sponsor of terrorism. Then, in 1988, tragedy struck. A U.S. Navy ship accidentally shot down Iran Air Flight 655, killing 290 civilians. Washington called it a mistake. Iran never forgot. The message from the 1980s was clear: confusion, conflict, and deepening mistrust. 4. Nuclear tensions begin. As the 1990s and early 2000s arrived, a new threat took center stage: Iran's nuclear ambitions. Western powers accused Iran of using its civilian nuclear program as a cover for building weapons. Iran insisted it had the right to nuclear energy and denied any intent to build bombs. Then in 2002, President George W. Bush included Iran in his infamous Axis of Evil speech, linking it with Iraq and North Korea as rogue regimes. Sanctions grew, diplomacy struggled, the threat of military conflict hovered in the air. 5. The 2015 nuclear deal. But then came a diplomatic breakthrough. In 2015, under President Barack Obama, the U.S. and other world powers signed the JCPOA. the Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action. Under this agreement, Iran drastically reduced its nuclear activity in exchange for relief from economic sanctions. Inspectors were granted access. Uranium enrichment was capped. Centrifuges were dismantled. Many saw it as a step toward peace, but not everyone agreed. Critics, including Israel and many U.S. Republicans, said it was too lenient and only delayed Iran's nuclear ambitions. Still, for a brief moment, diplomacy seemed to be working. 6. The Trump withdrawal and escalation. That changed in 2018. President Donald Trump pulled the U.S. out of the deal, calling it the worst agreement ever. Sanctions were reimposed. Hard. Iran's economy suffered. Tensions spiked. In January 2020, Trump ordered the assassination of General Qasem Soleimani, Iran's most powerful military commander. Iran retaliated by firing ballistic missiles at U.S. bases in Iraq. Dozens of U.S. troops suffered injuries, and the world braced for war. But somehow, both sides stepped back. Still, the damage was done. The nuclear deal was in ruins, and trust had collapsed. 7. Proxy wars, and 2025 escalation. Since then, Iran has expanded its influence through proxy groups in Iraq, Syria, Lebanon, and Yemen, clashing with U.S. allies and forces. Efforts to revive the nuclear deal under President Joe Biden stalled. Meanwhile, Iran slowly ramped up uranium enrichment, getting closer to weapons-grade levels. And now, in 2025, the conflict has exploded once again. Former President Trump, now back in power, announced that U.S. forces had bombed key Iranian nuclear facilities, Fordo, Natanz, and Isfahan. Shortly after, Iran launched missiles into Israel, wounding dozens and drawing Israel into the confrontation. The region is now on the edge of all-out war. World leaders are calling for calm, but the cycle of escalation continues. So, where does this all leave us? From a CIA coup in 1953 to the hostage crisis, the Iran-Iraq war, the nuclear standoff, and now the 2025 airstrikes, the U.S.-Iran conflict has lasted more than 70 years. At times, there's been hope for peace. At others, the world has stood at the edge of war. Understanding this long, painful history helps explain why diplomacy is so difficult, and why any spark can ignite a much larger fire.
Remember to subscribe for more new updates in history.